Greetings to all you warriors of the summer sun. I was listening to the news this morning and it appears that some people have been caught looting. I'm guessing that charges will be filed because when they were caught, it seems that while they were robbing the store, they were spotted doing so closer than 6 feet apart. Some people just never learn. Well, I've heard everything under the sun. I've heard that China manufactured the virus in order to help institute a one world government. I've heard that there is no virus and that this is just a ruse to shut down travel as the deep state offenders, Pizzagate criminals, and archons from another dimension in space and time are finally brought to justice. Unless, of course, they can escape to their island temple and find sanctuary with Tom Hanks. Folks, keep them coming. I love this stuff. I am rereading some of my childhood favorites. My daughter bought me the first book that I ever read cover to cover as a gift last year, The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet. I enjoyed rereading it so much I thought I would dust off my Chronicles of Narnia as well as my Hobbit and several other classics. What I find interesting is the vast difference between Christian authors and secular authors. I've really enjoyed some secular authors in my time, but all of them miss something that C.S. Lewis would have called the shadow of holiness. As I reread my favorites, I noticed that there was a spirit that I was exposed to as a very young child. I was exposed to it through the words that I read, but also the words that were read to me as my mother sat on the edge of the bed and read me to sleep each night. It is a spirit that is absent from The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet, but almost inescapable from the works of Lewis, Tolkien, and MacDonald. I thought about how these books influenced me from the time I could think, and then the scripture that says, "How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher?" Did you know that you are a preacher? You are a part of the priesthood of believers, and it is your duty to speak spirit and truth to everyone you meet. You are to speak it in the morning, speak it at breakfast, speak it at noon, write it on your foreheads, strap it to your arms, write it above the doorpost of your homes, speak it in the evenings, and speak it as you fall asleep, and speak it to your children as they go to bed. Just this week, I received my essential personnel papers. If they start pulling people over in the streets because restrictions get even more stringent than they already are, these are the papers that I am supposed to show the Gestapo, the the authorities, to let them know that I am essential. Now, if you caught some of my sarcasm there, and if you know me, then you know that I love conspiracy stories. And I have weaved my own conspiracy about how this might be an Illuminati pretest to see if the programming of the last several decades has finally prepared the masses to fully sell their freedom for the illusion of security in order to roll out phase 4 of the New World Order. Crazy, right? But that's just it. You know it's crazy. And I love crazy sometimes, just like I like secular authors sometimes. But when I need to get my head on straight again, when I need the worries of the world to fall off my shoulders, when I need Jesus to come and give me a word of hope, I put the conspiracy theories down. I put the secular authors off to the side, and I pick up a book that has the shadow of holiness on it. Or, better yet, I go straight to the source of holiness itself. I'd like to read two things to you today to encourage you. If you are like me or my daughter, then you need someone to ground you sometimes and let you know that no matter what the world's truth is, there is a greater author of truth out there that calls all the shots, and he has already written the ending of the story. And the ending is good, very good. It's good beyond belief. The first thing I would like to read you is a section of the Chronicles of Narnia. The kids have just heard about Aslan, and they inquire about his person, or should I say his lineliness. "Oh, yes, tell us about Aslan," said several voices at once, for once again that strange feeling like the first signs of spring, like good news had come over them. "Who is Aslan?" asked Susan. "Aslan," said Mr. Beaver. "Why, don't you know? He's the king. He's the lord of the whole wood. But not often here, you understand. Never in my time or my father's time. But the word has reached us that he has come back. He is in Narnia at this moment. He'll settle the White Queen all right. It is he, not you, that will save Mr. Tumnus." For Mr. Tumnus had been turned to stone. "She won't turn Aslan into stone too, will she?" asked Edmund. "Lord love you, son of Adam, what a simple thing to say," answered Mr. Beaver with a great laugh. "Turn him into stone? If she can stand on her own 2 feet and look him in the face, it'll be the most she can do, and more than I expect of her. No, no, he'll put all things to rights, as it says in an old rhyme in these parts. Wrong will be right when Aslan comes in sight. At the sound of his roar, sorrows will be no more. When he bares his teeth, winter meets its death, and when he shakes his mane, we shall have spring again." And now I'd like to go straight to the source. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph holds a grudge against us and pays us back for all the wrongs we did to him?" So they sent word to Joseph saying, "Your father left these instructions before he died. This is what you are to say to Joseph. I ask you to forgive your brothers the sins and the wrongs they committed in treating you so badly. Now please forgive the sins of the servants of the God of your father." When their message came to him, Joseph wept. His brothers then came and threw themselves down before him. "We are your slaves," they said. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. So, all that being said, whatever you believe about this virus, whether you think interdimensional entities warped it into our reality, or maybe Tom Hanks made it with a mail order chemistry kit, or maybe it's just a really bad virus and we need to buckle down to keep real casualties from happening. Whatever the secular story is, there's a better story with the shadow of holiness on it. And that story is this: no matter what's going on, God is using it for the greater purpose of not just our good, but the good of the entire world. Watch and see. Hold tight. We might spend some time in an Egyptian jail. We might get accused of wrongdoings by the Potiphar household that are flat out lies. But the final speaker of truth and the final judge of all things and the author of all reality is working towards our good. Romans tells us this: "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." So the only thing you need to figure out is this: do you love him? I think you do. God bless you. Tabby and I love you, and we long to see you very soon.